What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Clutch Crew Sports YouTube channel. My name is Connor, the co-host with the most, and we are back here with another tier list. I know took a week off from the tier list, took a week off from the mukbang, so all you've been seeing for the last couple of weeks is just the podcast. But I am back today with another tier list. I finally got my Clutch Crew Sports shirt in the mail, so now I am repping the Clutch Crew Sports colors on this video, so that way I can promote the podcast a little bit more, just for everyone out there watching. But yeah, I'm excited to get this one going. I had this idea. I've been having a tough time actually trying to come up with ideas for these, so need to start leaving those comments down below what you want me to do for the next ones. But I decided this time I would go with candy bars, something I'm very familiar with. I used to eat. I don't eat them as much anymore as I used to. I used to eat a lot more kind of back in my high school years. I remember there was a lady at work who used to comment like every time I went on my break and I would get candy bars. I would never actually get any real food most of the time. I would just get candy bars and like a soda or something. So of course she always thought it was really funny. She called me like, I can't remember what she called me. Something about like candy something, the candy kid or something. I don't know. But so I do have a lot of experience with them, and I'm ready to go here with this tier list. Got 17 different candy bars down here. I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard of these. Obviously, there's a lot more candy bars out there, but a lot of them really aren't anything that's really available in the U.S. I know, like, Mars bars aren't available in the U.S. I decided to exclude Cadbury bars on here just because I have had actual Cadbury bars, but I decided to exclude it because the Cadbury bars that you see in the United States are not, like, quote-unquote real Cadbury bars. The real Cadbury bars are made in the UK. Every time that my stepdad has gone over to the UK, he's brought them back. They're also a lot smaller because normally candy bars are probably about like this big or maybe this big. They're like little tiny things, kind of maybe about this big. It's just like two little squares basically, but they are the best. Like, they would definitely be making the S tier if I had them on this list. But because a lot of people don't have access to them, I decided not to include them because the Cadbury that we have here in the US is made by Hershey, and it is nowhere close to being as good as the real thing. It's actually, honestly, in my mind, I wish they wouldn't sell it or make it because I think it's terrible compared to the real thing. Maybe that might give you some hints on my opinion on Hershey bars, but we are ready to go here. So we're going to start out first with Almond Joy Bars. Now, this is a favorite of my mom's. My mom has always loved almonds, and for me, it's probably going to be a D tier bar, honestly. Like, almonds are not my favorite thing in the world. I'll definitely eat them, but they're not my favorite. But it's really just the coconut, in my opinion. Like, just those two things combined, the almonds and the coconut, really don't do it for me. I remember saying that this is one of my mom's favorites. I remember every time I'd go out and trick or treat and I'd bring back all my candy, like I'd go through my candy like, oh, I got to give some to my mom, and I would give her all my Almond Joy bars. Like, I would not want them. So it's definitely not the worst thing out there. Like, if someone offered it to me, I'd eat it. I'm not going to turn it away and be like, oh, Almond Joy, but it's definitely not my favorite. So we're going to put it in the D tier for now. Snickers Bars. This is going to go, excuse me, probably the most complicated bar. Well, maybe the Take 5 is a little bit more complicated, but maybe like the second most complicated. It has everything. It's got chocolate, peanuts, caramel, nougat. It's got like everything that all the other candy bars have combined into one. But we're going to put it in the B tier. I don't know. There's just something about peanuts. Oh man, excuse me. There's something about peanuts in a candy bar that, I don't know, I'm just not really a huge fan of. I don't know, like, I like peanuts, I like peanut butter, but when they're in a candy bar, I don't know, it doesn't do the same for me. Like, if you're gonna put peanuts with chocolate, it needs to be peanut butter. Like, chocolate and peanut butter, obviously, you really can't go wrong with that. I have Reese's cups later here on this list, even though they're not technically a candy bar, but just peanuts and chocolate, I'm not sure is really that great of a combination, in my opinion. So we're going to put it in the B tier. It's obviously not bad. Very iconic, lots of commercials, Super Bowl commercials too. with the, you're not you when you're hungry, sort of thing. So I know Betty White was in one of those commercials one time. So Snickers bars B tier. Now Hershey's cookies and cream. I will say this is definitely a better bar than the regular Hershey's bar, but for me, it's gonna go in the C tier. Like I like cookies and cream, and like I said, this, in my opinion, again, like getting a little bit of a future glimpse on what I think of Hershey's. This is a better version, but it's still, being made by Hershey's. I don't know. It still just doesn't. The chocolate itself, I don't think is as good. Like the cookies and cream part of it is fantastic. Cookies and cream is not my favorite thing in the world, but it's still very good. But being made by Hershey's and the chocolate itself is a little bit not as good as I would hope it would be. So it's going to sit here in the C tier. 100-gram bars. Now this, if I had done this list maybe like 2 years ago, this would have been my all-time favorite bar. Not anymore though. 100-gram bars now. First of all, they're really hard to find. Especially, I don't know if they're hard to find anywhere else. Like, I can't speak for people living in like Texas or Florida, like Zach and Eric, or anywhere else. But at least in North Carolina, they're pretty hard to find. I know like a couple of the only places I can find them are really like the grocery store where I work, Lowe's Foods, and like usually pharmacies. But even like some gas stations and other grocery stores, like I can't find them. So they're a little bit hard to find, but they're going to go in the A tier for me. I think it's more so just like I really like the taste of them. I'm not entirely sure what they put in them, honestly. Like, I couldn't tell you. Because, like, with Snickers, I can tell you, oh, it's like chocolate, peanuts, caramel. With Almond Joy, it's almonds and coconut. Like, I can't really specifically point out what's in them. Like, I know there's caramel in them. I guess there's probably nougat in them, but there's something else in them that I'm not sure. But I think the thing for me that has knocked them down a little bit is just they are super chewy. Like they're more chewy than I used to remember. It's like I sit there, if I get one, I'm sitting there chewing for a couple minutes before I can finally swallow it. So I don't know, like that kind of ruins the experience for me a little bit. Like it still tastes good, but it's kind of like eating a steak in a way. Like steak tastes really good, but if it's like super chewy, then you're kind of like I don't really like this as much anymore, because you're just kind of sitting there chewing for minutes and minutes. So but still very solid. 100 grand is going to go in the A tier. Now regular Hershey's bars, this is going to be another D tier bar for me. I just do not like Hershey's chocolate. Like honestly, I will find any alternative most of the time if I can, besides Hershey's. Like about the only thing that I will use Hershey's bars for is if I'm gonna make s'mores, just because like the marshmallow and the graham cracker kind of counteracts it a little bit. But it's like I said, the chocolate itself is not very good. Like I said, this is maybe alluding to also why I don't like the Hershey's Cadbury bar, because it's just not very good. I don't know what else to say. I know a lot of people are probably like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, Hershey's bars are so good, but Hershey's bars are not good. Whoever says that, I don't know. Maybe you haven't tried any of these other ones, because there's a lot of other stuff on here that's way better. Heath Bars. Now, this is probably, out of all the bars on this list, this is the one I've probably had the least amount of. I know this is obviously like toffee. It's like chocolate and toffee, so it's a little bit interesting. I'm not the biggest fan of toffee, but I'm just going to put it in the C tier. It's kind of just average for me. It's not something that I would really pick up on a regular basis. It's just something that I kind of see, and I'm like, oh yeah, Heath Bars, and then I'm just kind of like, let me go grab like, something else, like the 100 grand bar or the Snickers bar or something else. Like, I'm not really grabbing for the Heath Bar ever. So, I don't know, maybe someone else thinks, I know there's people out there who think it's really good. Like I saw some list about like candy bars and like which one you need, like if you only could pick one, which one you would get. And they didn't have the Heath Bar on there, and there were a lot of comments with people being like, where are the Heath Bars? Like they're so good. They're like the best ones. So I know there's people that like them, but I'm just not among them. Payday. Now, going back to my peanuts on candy bars, this is not peanut and chocolate. This is peanut and caramel. which I'm still going to go and put it in the C tier. It's kind of in the same realm for me as the Heath Bar. It's just kind of like something that I really would never pick up. But of course, I see it all the time, and some people think it's really good. But it's something I would never really just be like, oh yeah, I'm really craving a Payday bar. Like, this is really what I want. I'm never having that experience with Payday bars, unfortunately. So um, it's just gonna sit there in the C tier. Now, Butterfingers. This is definitely a very like kind of, I don't know what I'm trying to say here. It's a very like polarizing chocolate bar from what I've seen in a way. I know there's some people that think it's really good. Some people think it's really bad. Um, obviously there's all those commercials like, don't lay a finger on my Butterfinger, and if you've watched The Simpsons, like Bart Simpson loves Butterfingers. But for me, this is going in the F tier. Butterfingers to me are disgusting. Like, I don't know how you can manage to ruin a candy bar as much as Nestle has with this candy bar right here. Like, I don't know, like, it's supposed to be chocolate and peanut butter, but it tastes like chocolate and disgustingness. I don't know how to describe it. It's just, I don't know what they did to make it like that, but it's gross. Sorry, I know Zach really likes Butterfingers, and he knew this was coming. Obviously, if he watches this, he knows that I would say that this was terrible, and it is terrible. By far, the worst candy bar I've ever had. It may not be the worst of all time because I know there's other candy bars like, the Zero Bar and a couple other things that I haven't actually tried, so I can't specifically say it's the worst candy bar of all time. Because honestly, like that Cadbury Hershey's bar would probably be down here in the F tier too, but it is definitely the worst candy bar that I've tried, and it's terrible. So, rant on Butterfingers over. Crunch Bar. This is a solid A tier for me. This is a bar that I've been having since I was a little kid. It's one of the first ones that I tried. It's a very, I don't know if you want to call it like easy to eat, because sometimes like the bars with caramel and everything are really kind of difficult. Like I said, they're like chewy and more difficult to eat. This is just chocolate and rice. It's almost like you're eating Cocoa Krispies in a way, just with extra chocolate. Now, I will say one thing I don't like that they've done recently is they've recently done it to where, because I know the big draw with Hershey's bars for a lot of people is like, oh, you can break off the little segments and, you can kind of break it apart and just like hand little nuggets to people. Crunch actually has done that now in a way where they've kind of split it into 4 different segments. Kind of like, and same thing with like Kitkat. Kitkat has like the 4 different little segments, and Crunch has done that. I don't like that they've done that. I wish that they still had the whole bar. I don't know, maybe that's just me. I like having a full candy bar. I don't like to usually break it up. But the Crunch Bar is still very good, very, very tasty. I still get it a lot when I'm at work. Like if I'm on lunch or something, and, I'll actually get real food now. I don't just buy candy bars, but I'll definitely get it now. It'll just be kind of like a sweet thing that I'll have with my food. So Crunch Bars, solid A tier. Three Musketeers. This is probably going to go in the B tier. I don't know. This has been one of those bars that, like, I always feel like I should like it more than I do, but I just kind of don't. I don't know. Maybe it's kind of like Butterfingers in a way. Like, obviously, different tiers for sure. But Butterfinger was always kind of one of those chocolate bars that I always thought that, like, I should like this more, but I don't, because, like, I feel like they screwed it up in some way. And Three Musketeers is maybe the same way. Like, I feel like I should like it more, but there's maybe like something they did that made it not as good. Because like I said, I'm not a huge fan of nuts in my bars, and Three Musketeers doesn't have nuts in the bars. It's just like a whole bunch of nougat basically. And I don't know, maybe they could have added something else in there that would have made it a little better. Obviously, it wouldn't be unique anymore, because that's kind of the unique thing about Three Musketeers is that it's like a really big bar with a lot of nougat. So, I don't know. Nougat's not 100% my thing, but Three Musketeers definitely still solid in the B tier. Kitkat bars. This is 100% my second favorite candy bar. Going up here in the S tier, you just can't go wrong with Kitkat. I don't know if I've met a single person who says they don't like Kit Kats. Like, I've met people who don't like Crunch Bars. who don't like Snickers, who don't like, Butterfinger, who don't like Hershey's, who don't like Twix. I haven't found anyone who says they don't like Kit Kats. Like, I don't know if it's even possible to dislike Kit Kats. I mean, it's such a simple concept, like just chocolate and wafers, but it's so good. And also, the whole like, I don't know, there's just something satisfying about breaking it up. Like, like I said, normally I don't like the broken up chocolate bars, but Kit Kat's different. Kit Kat isn't like one bar that I'm breaking up. It is like four individual bars that you break it off, and that's the whole. I don't know. Like I said, there's just something satisfying about it, and it's one of the best tasting candy bars out there. So Kit Kat, like I said, my second favorite, and a very easy S tier. Like I feel like this would be a very out of a lot of the things on this list, like Kit Kat being S would probably be like a big consensus. Like everyone would agree. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? Maybe I say that now, and then someone's going to comment on the video and be like, "Oh, Kit Kats are gross. Like, how can you have them up in the S tier?" But I feel like for the most part, like maybe 8 times out of 10, 80% or whatever, people are going to agree that Kit Kat is S tier. Mr. Goodbar, this is going to be another D tier. It's just, again, the combination of Hershey's chocolate, but now you're also adding peanuts in there. It's like two things I'm not really a fan of. I'm not a fan of Hershey's chocolate, and I'm not a huge fan of having peanuts in the candy bar. So, I don't know. Again, I felt like that a couple of times when I had this, I would like it better. I just really don't like it that much. This is one of those like Halloween staples, I know for sure too. Like, there's a lot of people that when I went out on Halloween, I got so many Mr. Good bars, and I can't tell you how disappointed I was. I'm over here thinking like, man, I should probably have like, I should probably be getting something like Twix or Kit Kat or Crunch Bars or something like that. But no, people were giving out Mr. Good bars, and I don't know, it's just not that good to me. So Mr. Good bar is going to go in the D tier. Milky Way. Milky Way bars are going to be another A tier for me. See, I don't know, like maybe Milky Way is kind of like what I feel like Three Musketeers should have done with their bar. Like I said, it wouldn't be unique anymore if they did it like that. But Milky Way is kind of the same concept, like that chocolate with lots of nougat, but they also added caramel into it. And I think that's what elevates the Milky Way above the Three Musketeers bar. It's adding that caramel gives it another flavor, and I really like caramel in bars. It's kind of what saves Snickers for me in a way because, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of nougat. I don't really like peanuts, but Snickers are saved by the caramel, and Milky Way certainly has a lot of caramel, and it's very good. Mounds Bars. Now, what's basically going to save this one from the D tier, because I could easily put this in the D tier as well, along with the Almond Joy, but what saves it for me is the dark chocolate. I am a huge fan of dark chocolate. I know I didn't include the Hershey's dark chocolate bar, but that would actually be up in the B tier if I had that on here. Because dark chocolate is by far my favorite. I know, obviously, you can't get too dark in the dark chocolate because there is like a little bit of, I think I had like, it was the Ghirardelli one where it was like the 86%, and I had that, and it was just like the most bitter thing. I was like, whoa, like, I like dark chocolate, but not this much. I mean, I think the 72% Ghirardelli is about as high as I'll go with that. But just regular dark chocolate, anything. Like, I've had dark chocolate Kit Kats before. I've had dark chocolate Crunch Bars. Dark chocolate, I said dark chocolate in the Mounds bar. Like, dark chocolate is fantastic, and that's the only thing saving this from the D tier, because otherwise it would be in the D tier. If it was milk chocolate with coconut, it's going in the D tier, but the dark chocolate saves it and puts it up in the C tier. Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, the favorite of Eric and Zach, especially Eric. Eric is a huge poster child, or is that the right word? I don't know. Like, if there was like some way that he could be a sponsor for some sort of candy, he would definitely choose Reese's Peanut Butter Cups to be the spokesperson for. And for me, although I would not put it in the S tier along with where Eric would put it, and I think Zach would probably put it there too, it's going to go in a solid A tier for me. Peanut butter and chocolate, you can't go wrong with it. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of peanuts with chocolate, but peanut butter and chocolate is like the ultimate combination. Whoever thought of that was a genius. So Reese's Peanut Butter Cups are an easy A tier. Not sure there's much else to say about them. If you watch the cereal tier list, you know how much I love Reese's Puffs. So it's only natural that Reese's Peanut Butter Cups would go up and be very high on the candy bar list. Now, speaking of Reese's, we have the Take 5 bar. Now, this is a very interesting candy bar. I'm trying to remember all the what's in it because they put a lot of stuff in it. Hence the name Take 5. Which originally it wasn't made by Reese's, but now Reese's took it over in the last few years, and now they make it. But it's like chocolate and peanut butter and pretzels, and I think there's also something else in it. There has to be something else in it because if it was just the chocolate, peanut butter, and the pretzels, I would be in the A tier for me. But there's something else in it that I honestly can't remember that puts it down for me, down into the B tier. Because obviously Reese's making it like they know how to do chocolate and peanut butter, and they actually did have a little, probably a few months ago, they released, it was like the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. It was like one of the big cups too, with pretzels in it, and it was fantastic. Like, it would have been threatening my S tier if I'd had it on here and if it was still available. But it's not still available, unfortunately, at least in my store. Maybe it's still available elsewhere. I don't know. I wish I could get it again because it was really good. But like I said, there's something else in this bar that I don't remember what they put that just knocks it down a little bit for me. So Take 5 is going to go in the B tier. And last, but certainly not least, I said that Kitkat was my second favorite, so obviously if that's the only one sitting in the S tier still, then there still has to be my favorite left, and that is going to be Twix Bars in the S tier. I mean, they're just so unique, especially with like what makes the Twix Bar the Twix Bar is the cookie. The cookie crunch in a Twix Bar makes it unique. It makes it what it is, and it is the best thing ever created in chocolate bar form. Especially since, you know, the great thing about Twix Bars is that you get two. You know, you don't just get one. I know obviously like a Crunch Bar per se is about the same size as, you know, the two Twix Bars, but you get two of them in there. And I don't know, like I know they've got this whole thing that like the left Twix and the right Twix, they taste the same. Like, I don't know if there's anyone out there that actually believes that there's a difference, but they taste the same. Like, trust me, I've had enough Twix bars, and I've had enough where I've tried the two, and I'm like, oh, like maybe I'll find a difference. Like, no, they taste exactly the same. But nonetheless, Twix bars are fantastic. I highly recommend. I know Eric has said that there's something in Texas where he lives that there's like peanut butter Twix, which he said he thinks are like one of the best things ever. So I have never had access to these peanut butter Twix. If someone knows where I can find them, then please let me know. Somewhere that's preferably a little bit closer to North Carolina than Victoria, Texas. Um, but definitely, if you can let me know where to find one of those, I will try it, and hopefully I will have a good opinion on it. Or maybe if Eric wants to send me one, I can try it and figure out my opinion. But nonetheless, a regular original Twix bar, S tier, my favorite. So just a quick recap to finish it off. In the S tier, we have Kit Kat and Twix. In the A tier, we have 100 Grand, Crunch, Milky Way, and Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. In the B tier, we have Snickers, Three Musketeers, and Reese's Take 5. In the C tier, we have Hershey's Cookies and Cream, Heath Bars, Payday, and Mounds. In the D tier, we have Almond Joy, Hershey's Bar, and Mr. Good Bar. And in the F tier, we have Butterfinger. So thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to leave your comments down below on what you think I want to do next. And also, make sure to leave your comments. Do you agree with my list? What do you think of it? Do you think Butterfinger should be in the S tier? Do you think Twix should be in the F tier? Who knows? Let me know. I want to know your opinion. This is just my opinion. This isn't obviously a definitive, factual ranking of anything. So I'd love to hear everyone else's opinions and what you think I should do next. Be sure to check out the latest episode of Clutch Crew Sports. It came out on Tuesday. We talked about the Milwaukee Bucks winning the NBA championship. We did a mock lottery draft, which honestly, the draft was. I'm recording this on Tuesday, but when it comes out on Friday, the draft will have happened the day before this comes out. So make sure that you go back and watch our episodes, see if we were right, see if we were wrong. New episodes of Clutch Crew Sports every Tuesday. And hopefully getting back on schedule, new episodes of tier lists and mukbangs every Friday. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at MrCDog54. Be sure to follow Clutch Crew Sports on Twitter at Clutch Crew Sport, and be sure to tune in for all future episodes. Thanks for watching, and as always, be clutch.